have more women of anime show up, but right now we're going to start with Miss Morgan.
Hi! Hi guys! Oh, thank you. My name is Morgan Berry. I'm a voice actress affiliated with Funimation. I have voiced in shows like, hey, there's Colleen! Woo! You guys. My Hero Academia, that's one of them. You're my idol!
Wait, we'll start right back on.
Cool, sounds good.
No worries.
Pause.
Actually, Morgan, if you could start, can you say who you are and some of the things that you're working on?
First,
And then we'll go down the road.
Nice to meet you. And I'll shake everyone else's hand.
I haven't met you.
We haven't. Okay. She's been next to me the entire con, but it's like we made ships in the night.
I know. It's right now. Crazy.
Hello guys!
What were we talking about?
We're just doing the introductions.
Do it.
Cool. Hi, my name is Morgan Berry. I'm affiliated with Funimation for most of my work. I voiced in My Hero Academia, One Piece, the Token Rambu, what else? Some video games like Marvel Avengers Academy, Smite, woo! And that's me.
You guys can hear me, right?
No, here's
Okay.
we can switch.
And I'm Colleen Clinkenbeard, and I work with Funimation for the most part as well. I play Luffy in One Piece, and Urza in Fairy Tail, Gohan in Dragon Ball Z Kai, and Lilith in Borderlands, and I'm also currently directing My Hero Academia, and I directed Steins Gate and Full Metal Alchemist.
Wow. I'm Kimberly Brooks. And I work, right now you might recognize me from Voltron, Princess Allura. And let's see, what else? Steven Universe, I work on that show, Jasper. Anyone with little kids, I work on a show called Doc McStuffins, which is adorable. I'm the mom, and I'm also Surfer Girl.
Oh wow!
And let's see what else.
I watched that show.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
Great songs. Let's see what else. I work on South Park. If anybody's into South Park, I know it's a different.
Those who don't watch Doc McStuffins.
And I've had a pretty long career so far. I've started out working on Rugrats, and just have pretty much consistently worked up till now. So there's a lot more. I just checked my IMDb.
I'm Veronica Taylor. I guess am best known for playing Ash and May and Delia on Pokemon. And April on Ninja Turtles. I am currently on Welcome to the Wing. I don't know if people have seen that. I play the spy from 8i. And another show for little kids called Ollie and Moon. It's on Sprout. Really fantastic. On and on. Let's get on to questions.
Absolutely.
We're just Q&A'ing, right?
Today will be a Q&A.
All right. So if you guys have questions,
Please raise your hand and I'll keep track of all of you guys and then we'll... Oh, she's already ready to go. Are you ready to go?
This question is for the wonderful Kimberly Brooks.
Oh, wonderful.
Check.
I just got a question. Like, if Allura were to ever visit the Space Mall, like, what do you think she would get?
Oh my gosh.
I love that.
The Space Mall, which she desperately wanted to go to but could not go. She'd probably do some shopping for some, like, cooler clothes. I think she's kind of sick of the princess gown and maybe wants some like, I don't know, jeans or something else, something more casual. I think she'd start there, and remember she wanted something sparkly, so maybe a trip to the jewelry store. I don't know.
Just buy a bedazzler.
Yeah,
bedazzler. You can self-bedazzle.
I think.
Just saying. I know there's a lot of crafty people in here.
Question over here.
Hey, Morgan, I just want to say I love your streams on Unlocked.
Oh,
Really
thank
good. And my question is for all of you, is there any women you look up to or that inspire you in the industry?
We're on a panel with some of the people who inspire us, I think, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah. Dude, I grew up with Pokemon, so I'm living my dream right now. Yeah.
Oh, wow, thanks a lot. I've secretly admired you too, from very far.
I'm gonna go further out there to the blockbuster world and say I love Cate Blanchett, and I think she is one of the few actresses in Hollywood who actually uses her voice when she acts in films. So it's nice to see somebody actually use voice acting when they're working on camera, because she changes it up all the time, and that's just something that I wish more people did.
So awesome.
I agree.
There's an amazing voice director named Andrea Romano who directs everything. She recently retired, and if you had been in her retirement and seen the sea of talented voiceover actors who've had the privilege of working with her, basically bawling because the industry is going to miss her so much, you would know how much she means to me. And so Andrea Romano, who also voice directs Voltron and everything else, is really, really an inspiration to me. She's incredible. She's just top of her game. Yeah.
And you know Sue Blue also?
Oh, yeah.
She's a great director as
Yeah.
well, and she also did a ton of cartoons.
I work
and
with
then
her
she,
in cartoons.
yeah. Oh, do you?
Yeah.
And she went on to direct, and she sings, and she's pretty amazing as
She's
well.
amazing.
Yeah, I am. Did anybody see the new Tracy Ullman show? She does the most amazing impersonations. She's so creative and amazing. I really love her too.
Yeah.
But what I love is good acting. It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. I really love good acting, and to see people commit fully to a script and really bring it to life is kind of what it's all about.
Question over here.
This question is for Kimberly Brooks. What's your favorite Lance pickup line?
Oh, none of them, actually. He's very cheesy. I think the particle barrier lines kind of because obviously Princess Allura tried to use it herself, and it worked. So, I think the particle barrier line that he does. He did it the other day in the panel. I don't know if anybody was here, but it's pretty funny.
Question over here.
So a few months ago, I was actually very considerate. I was doing a ton of research on how to get into Funimation. What are your concerns about that? Because I aspire to be like you guys and be a voice actress as well. So how did that happen for you guys?
Awesome. This is actually, for right now, for the moment, I find this a very easy question to answer. It has historically been very difficult, but at the moment, Sunny Strait and Chris Rager, both of whom are voice actors for Funimation, are running workshops in the area, and we are in Dallas right now. So I get to say, if you're in Dallas or the area and can do one of those workshops, Sunny has like a 40% success rate in terms of somebody who takes his workshop and then works at Funimation. So that is very specific and not my usual advice. My usual advice is be an actor first. Don't try to pigeonhole yourself into being a voice actor for anime. That's guaranteeing that you will make no money ever. So I would say branch out, be an actor, do community theater, that kind of thing. But specifically for that, there is an opportunity right now in Dallas that is almost too good to believe. So
That is amazing.
yeah.
Because you're right, that's a question you get, and
Yeah.
it's really hard to answer.
We never have a good answer for
Yeah,
that.
because everybody has a different path.
Know someone.
Yeah.
And also, it's an ongoing thing too. Even once you start working, you're always still trying to network
Yes.
and reach out, and
Yeah.
so nothing is ever sure.
Done. And
Yeah, once
finished.
you might have a hit show, and then you may never work again.
Yeah.
So you have to constantly be searching for
Yeah.
ways to get in.
I call it hustling. The hustle.
Yeah.
Yes. Constant hustle.
This is a question for Kimberly Brooks. If you've kept up with the fandom memes, do you think because of yesterday you're going to join Jeremy Shada in the basement?
Oh my God. No.
Short answer.
Short answer.
Question over here.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Micah. This is just a question, not specifically for Kimberly, but I did see you had a video about a home studio setup
Oh,
that
yeah.
you had, and I was just wondering for everyone, the best home studio setup
because I feel like it's easier to do it at home. To start
Yeah,
off.
and that you can do it at
Right.
home is amazing.
And that it's affordable right now.
Yeah, you can, and you just, there's a lot of people, and you don't have to be in LA, and you don't have to be, yeah, you can do that. Yeah, my studio is pretty old, but I remember before, not a lot of people had studios when I set mine up, and I had this vision, I'm gonna set up this awesome studio, and I'm gonna work from home, and it really worked out great, and I did it at the perfect time, and I was really lucky because there's a guy named George Whittam who sets up everyone's studios. He actually set up Don LaFontaine's studio, if you guys know who he is, back in the day, and he's built this, at the Screen Actors Guild, there's also a voiceover studio, he built that. I got him before all of that stuff, so I have a really great studio, excuse me. But you can, like you said, it's a lot more affordable now, you can just do your research, find out what you need, but it is an investment, so make sure it's, you know, exactly what you want to do before you make that big commitment. But you don't need much.
No.
You really don't.
Mine's very simple. I am in an apartment with a walk-in closet, which is better than just a regular closet, which I used before, or pillows. But you really want to make sure you have the right sound, and then it's soundproof to some extent.
Okay.
And I just have my computer with my Pro Tools set up. I have a really nice Neumann mic, and I know. But it's good for my voice, that microphone. But I travel with an H2 Zoom, which has got a great sound on it. It's comparable.
I need to talk to you.
I was just gonna say, I need that.
Yeah, it's really simple, and if you take the SD card out and put it in the computer, so
I need that.
But it's,
I don't have a good travel setup.
The thing is that you need to find a mic that works for your voice.
Yeah, true.
Also, it's about blocking out sound and making it not sound roomy, like too echoey, or all of that. You finagle it a bit. You can record and listen back. You know, and you at least to be able to do auditions from someplace. Sure. It's helpful.
Closets are great, especially closets with clothes in them, because it really helps to absorb the sound.
Yeah.
You guys have
use that.
I mean, I started my first microphone, you know, if you're on a budget, the Blue Yeti mic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like maybe 100, 150. It's good to start off with. Personally, I didn't really like it because I have a loud voice and it just kind of, it didn't work out for me.
Too much.
Yes, and I didn't like that. But it's good for starters. But yeah.
And the industry sort of standard, I guess, is the 416 is this Sennheiser microphone. And those are about like $900. And that's a really big investment, but that's something to build up to, I think.
My
It's a lot cheaper than
Neumann, but I got it on, I don't know, I can't keep it, eBay or something like that. I actually drove out and picked it up from some guy, and a friend of mine found it. I went and picked it up, and I was like, should I be taking someone with me? Yes. But it was fine because he was standing on a corner where no one else was around, so not in a
microphone.
Would you come step into my car and I'll show you my microphone? It wasn't. Anyway, before we go any further, I just urge everyone to bring a friend with you when you're buying from someone you don't know. Microphones I'm talking about.
When you're scoring, make sure you're...
Anyway, teamwork, that's what I mean, teamwork.
Bring a friend.
Veronica Taylor teaches you how to buy drugs.
What I meant was, when you're trading Pokemon cards. All right, next question, please say please. Yes.
So I used to sing, not, just with the choir and stuff, and I've noticed that over the 14 years I've been teaching in a cinder block room that I've lost a lot of my vocal range. What is it that you do to protect not only your voice but also your hearing, because that also affects things?
Oh gosh. It's like a basement jail cell that you're teaching. You're really a torturer, not a teacher. Is that your
elementary art? So we need things that wash off easily.
Yes, that's good.
I haven't actually heard of that happening, so that's interesting that you say that. Like, people losing range over time, that makes sense, but it being because of a place where you work in your environment that eats your sound, that's news to me. So
I'm speaking loud.
She's talking loud to me.
Yeah.
Go on, no.
Well, I'm not a doctor, but I've played one on TV. But the thing that the biggest problem is not using your diaphragm to speak. So when you are speaking, really, you need to be talking from here, so you can. So your breath is coming from here. It's my little thing. But the thing about it is when you're trying to reach people, you don't have to talk, when you're talking from here, that's what's going to really destroy you. So if you're using breath support, and a way to practice that is just lean up against the wall so that you can feel, put your hand on your stomach, your back is flat, and ha, ha, ha. Get that so you get used to feeling the support. That's going to help you, number one. Hydrate, number two.
Yeah. Sleep.
Sleep.
I find, there's nothing worse than a morning audition when I didn't get enough sleep.
Right.
I can't, my range, so sleep is my number one secret for pretty much everything. We forget, it's just, you need a good solid sleep, anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot that you can do to save your voice. You could warm up a little bit before you go in. Since you sing, just go through a few using your full range. Warm up a little just to get it all going, and then you're centered and you can send your voice forward. And then you better tell those children to be quiet so you don't have to yell.
Yeah.
But don't yell it.
Yeah, but there is a ton of stuff to do to protect yourself, that's for sure.
Throat coat.
Yeah, that, we can talk about more stuff later.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are all good ideas.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Hi,
Hi, everybody. Christy from Voice Chasers.
nice to see you.
You too. So since you guys have been in the industry for a while, I was curious what you've seen as far as trends. What's been the most dramatic change in the industry for you? Has it been the technology change? Has it been how you audition? Has it been how many roles that women get? All that kind of stuff. I'm just curious.
All of those things.
Yes, but technology is a really big one. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I started dubbing, it was at the tail end of when we were using tapes.
Yeah, me too.
So it was the rewind. You had to wait for the tape to rewind.
Yeah.
If you started a take and you started it a little bit too early, the top of it would get cut off, and you clipped the take, and you couldn't. It was unusable. Now, I'm not kidding you, and I thought this was black magic when I saw that they could do this. Our engineers, if somebody starts talking in the booth and I'm like, oh, that's a really good take, they can press record, and it will have recorded what recorded before they pressed record.
Oh my God.
That's black magic.
That's like Facebook, man.
Yeah, that's like time travel.
Everything's recorded.
So that for me, but you had a good one because you started a little bit, you're young, fresh.
I've only been doing it for about 5 years, but even then, when I got my first lead, I had to wait like a year to talk about it. But now Funimation is doing simul-dubs, so I only have to wait like, a week to announce a role, so that's exciting.
Oh,
Yeah, that's new.
Social media, that aspect of social media has changed.
Really crazy. Well, I mean, it's changed. It's also kind of annoying because it used to be back in the day, because I'm a professional auditioner. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Every day I get all my auditions, and you'd have to get in your car, drive in LA traffic to wherever, and either it's an out-of-house audition or it's an in-house audition with your agent. You wait in the lobby, then you go in and read your copy, and then they would gather up all the auditions, and then they would messenger them across town, because this is well before. So that was the way it was. We all worked that way. And then the internet, and then, home studios. Now there's this immediacy that happens where it's like, we need this audition right now. Like, you didn't know you needed it, so I don't have any time to plan. It's like, they send it at 12 and they need it back by 3. Because the technology allows for that, but it also causes a lot of stress for me anyway.
Yeah, right.
I feel like I'm always, and when I got here on Friday, I was just gonna relax and just enjoy it. No, my agent, this is an ASAP audition, they really need you to do it. I didn't bring any equipment because it's like the end of the day Friday, and I'm like, so I'm scrambling, we're trying to record on my phone, I'm trying to do, so I think the technology's created this rush immediacy, and if you're not there to do it, there's going to be another actor. So it's a little bit anxious causing for me, because you don't want to miss anything. But that's what I've noticed is a big change since when I started.
And also, before, you had to be there to work on a show. I moved from New York to LA, and there's shows that I was working on there that I can now continue to do here. Some of them I do in a studio, some of them I record from home. Yeah. We Skype in, and we can do a whole session. I was on a Skype call with China, LA, New York, and I'm routinely on with like LA, New York, London, something like that. So that's an amazing thing that we can all be anywhere and still working on stuff. Otherwise, I would have lost that work when I moved. And I would say even 8 years ago, I would have lost. Maybe even 5.
Yeah.
Well, no, I've been out 3.5, so let's say 8. But yeah, that's pretty amazing that you can be that. As far as women's roles, I'm not sure if there's more strong women than there used to be.
Oh, I think there's way more.
Do you?
And as an African American woman, there's a lot more roles for me. I mean, I do everything. It's just, that's what's so great about voiceover. It doesn't matter what you look like, how old you are. If you can act and do it, then you can pull it off because they're just listening to the auditions. But I feel like there's
more now.
I just do.
I guess there is. It seems like
We
there
work a lot in
especially for
anime. I
little
think there's
kids.
less in anime than there is in pre-like
But and then there's more strong girl main roles.
Roles that are
like especially for kids.
Yeah.
Like that. A lot of my auditions are for like the great the main kid who's a girl. But I think it still defaults too much to the guy being the main.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
But luckily, voice acting, we get to play boys sometimes.
Right on.
So I came a little late, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We haven't been talking about anything.
Yeah. You didn't miss anything.
Well, it kind of goes with what you were just mentioning. It is women in voice, and I was wondering if we know that Hollywood tends to be have some gender disparities. And I was wondering if they'll have as much in the voice acting area, or if that's a subspecialty that maybe hasn't had as many issues with that because it is so much more.
That's a good question.
And then have y'all seen a change since we're talking about this more?
We were kind of just touching on that. The other thing I would add is that I don't even know if this is true as I'm saying it, but I feel like there are fewer roles for women in voice acting than there are on camera. But that doesn't mean that the roles that are on camera for women are of quality that we would necessarily consider for this conversation. Like, that's a whole other issue. But just the sheer number of roles for women in voice acting is pretty low. But it is changing. It's certainly trending in the right direction. And the quality of roles, the roles that you feel like are three-dimensional and not just about you having boobs, that number is going up as well.
Well, I just heard this, my local NPR is KPCC in Los Angeles, and they just had there's a thing called The Frame. It's a half-hour show that talks about the business. And they just had this thing on Thursday, about women being portrayed in films. And this guy went back and did his own study in kind of an homage to films. And he went back and read character descriptions of women from early movies all the way through. And it's worth taking a listen to because he said what began as a way to be like, films, was like, films. Like all in the 30s, descriptions of women like in The Thin Man, did anyone ever see that? When they describe Nora Charles, they describe her personality and how strong she is, and take nothing. She could go drink with her husband, and all this stuff is like written into her character description. But then from now, they're like, she comes in, she's the hottest woman in the room, she's got the biggest breasts, and she doesn't care. And all this stuff is about how she looks, nothing about who she is. And that's something that has changed.
It's gone backwards.
That's right.
That's interesting.
And I think that does affect all of us. And I think we all could say we strive for equality, where our characters are who they are, and we're all equal.
Right.
But with stuff like that, we've got a long uphill battle to fight for that equality, to be seen as full three-dimensional people.
You know what? That's marketing, though.
That's
they
true.
figured out over the years what sells.
Yes.
And what sells is the look.
But when you're writing a character description, you could say, like, she graduated top of her class, she's da-da-da, she also works out, so she's pretty fit, da-da-da, you put some stuff in, but not like, it's an interesting thing, and when you're kind of trying to be someone who's seen three-dimensionally, all that stuff is working against you.
Yeah, and I think it's just a real reflection of just like life reflecting art or whatever it is going on. So it's just kind of mirroring that, but hopefully with the changes that seem to be
Yeah.
happening right now, because, I don't know, the
Yeah.
universe is
It's time.
forcing this
Yeah.
stuff to happen.
Right.
Maybe that'll reflect in what we do as well. I mean,
And
Eventually, that
yeah.
has to be progressing, right? Like,
Right.
you have to be seeing more African American women portrayed in ways that you want to portray. No, is that not accurate?
portrayed in the way I want, where it's not even a mention.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I totally agree with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
It should just be people.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to
exactly.
be.
Yeah, no, we're not. Like how everyone
Totally
made
agree.
such a big deal about Black Panther because
Right.
finally there's a movie with a black cast and there's a movie with, you know, a black director and black. So it just, instead of it just being a good movie.
A great movie.
Right.
I know,
So
totally agree.
so we're not even close to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still a man's world. I work in promo. I do a lot of promo work. I work for NBC. It is such a big deal when they hire a woman to do a promo. Like, I guess men can sell
Yeah,
better.
so-
I don't know.
Yeah.
We trust their voices.
We naturally, and even, I'm saying we naturally hear men's voices first. Like, you listen and you believe a man's voice before you believe a woman's voice. Culturally, that's just what we've been trained
It's so
to.
interesting, but it's still there, it's still pervasive, it's still a thing, but
Right.
hopefully we're
We
making
can
little-
change. All of us can change. You change things with your wallet.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so
It's true.
it's what you invest in and what you're willing to
Yeah.
get behind.
Great question.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyway, that's on KPCC, The Frame, Thursday.
I have to, that's so interesting.
It's really fascinating. I sent it to my daughter. I hope she listened to it.
Hi, my name's Matt, aspiring voice actress.
Hi.
I wanted to ask, when in your careers, which probably early on, did you guys start to do your demos? And how did you manage to get a professional demo in sort of a budget kind of way? Or did you just go ahead with your home studio? Just what's the best way to go about that?
I cannot listen to my first demo. FYI. Yeah, I don't know, I guess I'll just start first. It's been so damn long. But luckily living in LA, was just a great advantage. There was a lot of great advantages. There were a lot of classes, and I happened to take a class at Voice Tracks West. It's been around forever, and they made demos there too. So that was, and you really want to know what you're doing before you put money into a demo. You do not want to make a bad demo because you're just sending that out. That's what represents you. It's all they're going to hear, all they're going to know about you. So I highly recommend you take classes, do, you know, like you were saying, community theater, whatever it is to make sure you get your acting chops down.
Oh yeah, I've been taking.
Okay,
classes.
good. And get a voice director to help you with the, someone to direct you with the demo and pick the copy. I had a class that they had different, copy. You can find your own, make your own up, take a magazine and turn it into something that sounds real. Because really what ultimately happens is once you're working, you're putting on your real jobs on your demo reel. But in the beginning, you kind of have to make it sound, so that's sort of the challenge. But if you have a director, and that's sort of my beginning advice, I'm sure you guys can add a lot to that.
Okay, so I would highly recommend you get it done at a professional studio, not a home studio, because Tony Oliver just said like a few weeks ago that when he gets a demo and it's not professionally done and he can tell, he just tosses it out. He tosses it because he wants to know that you worked hard for this. Save up your money to make a nice professional demo.
Or that you are professional.
Yeah, right, that you are legit. And definitely don't make one until you're ready, acting-wise. Like, have experience. The demo should not exceed a minute long, because a lot of the times directors only listen to the first, 10 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
And so you gotta make sure you put your more natural voice in the beginning of the reel.
Things that you learn when you take a class or have it done professionally.
Right, and have your slate in the beginning so that they know who you are, and it's your calling card. It has to be good. So
it has to have a point of view too. Like it's not a random sort of thing. It's like, who are you? What do you do? What is your sound? What can you offer? In the professional, what is your level of professionalism? What do you think sounds professional? That's what it.
Yeah, what do you think sounds good? That's
and it's really interesting because I took a class once where he didn't play good demos. He just played a bunch of really bad demo reels for us.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting because it's hard to explain what doesn't sound good, but when you hear it, so I think
don't send out a demo that's not good.
Yeah.
Because it might even just ruin your chances for good.
Yeah. It's really important, especially off the bat. But if you have the right class, the right teacher, I think that's the best way to go.
There are different kinds of demos too. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say a lot of classes you take do a demo at the end, so you're working on the pieces and then you do the demo.
Yeah.
There's animation.
Yeah, there's an animation demo, there's a commercial demo, there's narration demo, there's political demo, there's all sorts of things. So know what kind you're making before you make it, and once you do make it, know who to send it to. So if you make a commercial demo, that's for, I forgot who asked the question. That's for an agency. You know, and if you make an animation demo, then you can send that to a studio, but you're not going to want to send an animation demo straight to your agency unless it's specifically. I mean, I don't even know. In LA, maybe you would.
Yeah,
in Dallas,
we
you would
deal
not do
just
that.
with the agents.
Yeah.
I don't really deal with studios.
Oh, right.
Directly, it's all like the agents.
Funimation takes demos. About a third of the directors listen to them, and she's right. After 10 seconds, I turn it off.
Yeah.
I know whether I want to call you in.
Yeah, you know what you're listening for.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Question over here?
Yes, I would like to know, as voice actors or actresses, where do you derive most of your inspiration for the voices that I would assume you first hear in your head and not throughout your mouth? And then how would you go through crafting and honing that to make it what you want to hear when it comes out of your mouth?
That's interesting. That's an interesting, well, I lived in New York City for a long time, so I'm always out among people, so I'm always listening to people. I listen to how they talk, how they move, and when I'm thinking of a voice, I figure out where it's coming from, how the person stands, where they, and then I shift it around. The problem is you're sitting in a booth in my home studio. I'm sitting on my little stool, and so it's harder to produce sound when you're sitting here than when you're standing, and doing stuff. But I think about that, and then I kind of place it, and then it kind of goes from. Then you look at the character description, and then you, I don't know, take some shots at it in a way. That's a very vague way of saying.
But that's interesting because I never sit when I do voiceover. I
hate sitting.
Yeah, I hate it. Go into a studio and they have a chair and I'm like, get that thing out here.
I know.
I gotta be able to move.
For auditions at home, I sit because it's just too small. And
on your little.
But I prefer standing. You get the energy. I read a lot of audiobooks, and I wish I could stand the whole time because you're doing all the characters and the narration, and it's really taxing to sit still for so long because all of it's coming and you can only really move this much because otherwise you can hear it moving. But it's really hard. It hurts your body.
I think
to sit.
The narration. You do books on tape?
I do a lot of books on tape.
That's so hard to
now
do.
books on tape.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Well, wait till you hear something, we'll talk about it.
One thing, I agree with everything they've said, but one thing I would add to it is that you have a director for a reason. So when you find the side that you're going to audition for, I'll just use Funimation as an example. You have a book of sides, and you get to pick which ones you want to read. You can pick 2, and then you audition for them, and then the director will either say, okay, good, we're moving on, I want to pick this character for you because it's actually closer to your voice, or he or she might say, okay, but can you edge that a little younger, or I was thinking of a more nasal quality. They can tell you things like that and kind of shift you by themselves because they know the role. They know the series, they know the project, so they know more of what they're going for. And if they say less cartoony, they mean less cartoony.
Not to add a follow-up question to that, but just kind of trying to bounce off what you had just said. So like her lady over here in the audience that said she's an aspiring voice actress or voice actor. Obviously you don't have money to go out and get a voice director or someone to help you kind of
do the audition. You mean if you're not auditioning in person?
Is there any advice for someone along those lines?
Right. I agree with what Veronica said in terms of you read the side and you decide what does that person sound like in your head. But if you are looking for some kind of inspiration, what she said about finding a place for it in your body is huge. Because the difference between putting on a voice and like trying to make a character voice come out of your vocal cords and finding a place where somebody else who had your body, finding where their voice might be is huge. That makes your character more natural. So if Morgan was in my body, maybe she would lead more from her chest, or maybe she would put things up in her nose a little bit. But that's still in my natural range. It's just up in my nose. So finding where it sits, it kind of alters the character and gives you a whole other perspective. But I would always say your first instinct is probably your best voice.
There are coaches that you can hire to help you with auditions too and stuff like that.
And it's a good idea. I mean, I feel like even at my level and how long I've been doing it, I so rely on directing. And my biggest asset is that I'm really directable. And I really can take direction well, and I want to please the producer or the whoever it is, so.
That's why you get called back in.
That's
like, as a director, I'm going, well, come work with me.
Yeah, and it's a good thing, even for my auditions, you know, I have my bag of tricks. I've been doing this so long.
It's very moldable.
What's that?
You have to. So it helps be very moldable.
Very much so. You have to be.
Because you were to serve the project.
Exactly, you're just a small part. Someone's created this, has this idea, and they put all this time and energy to it. Voice is like the last thing that comes along. You know, they already have the characters, so you're just trying to help the project and be an asset to the project. So that's the way I always look at it. It's not about, and I rarely start with the voice. I always start with the acting. I start with the character, the motivation, then the voice comes, for me anyway, after doing it for so long and having my, like I said, bag of tricks, the voices, because you're kind of, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm using stuff that I already have inside of me that I just pull from different places, and I have little, like, cliff notes of how to get there. So I'm good at auditioning because I can, and with my friend that I audition with every day for the last 20 years, we have just this shorthand. Okay, we're doing this. So it's, you develop your own way of doing it, but your technique. But for me, I need someone else to like kind of.
Was that funny?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Did that work? Or do you believe that? Or is it, yes, that kind of thing. If you're lucky enough to have that. But yeah.
Question over here?
Yes, my name is Ash Ketchum. And I wanted to ask, you've obviously taken on a lot of roles, all of you have taken on a lot of different roles. I was going to ask, what has been your favorite character to portray over all of your experience?
Well, I would say Ash Ketchum because I played him for 8 years, and it was just a great energy to go to work. I just love you, and but you know, for that, it was great to really know a character inside and out.
Well, one of my favorite roles is 13 in My Hero Academia because I was a fan of the series before you cast me in it, and so to be a part of that, and so I'm really proud to be a part of it.
Thank you so much. You were perfectly cast, if I may say so myself.
The casting, a nice job.
Plus, she's such a delight to work with. It's the easy answer, but Luffy in One Piece. I've been with her so long. I know him inside and out, and Veronica can back me up on this. It's just when you've been with a character for, gosh, this is 11 years now?
Wow.
I've been voicing him. It's been a long time. And I know how he will respond in any given situation. I do not have to think. I don't have to be directed anymore, and I used to really rely on directing for that show, but I know what he's gonna do.
I've loved everything I've been lucky enough to work on. But like you said, something that you were a fan of before, for me was when I booked Scooby-Doo for the first time years and years ago. And I've worked on the show a gazillion times. I've gotten to say, and I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids, I've gotten to say that 3 times. But there's one, and this character doesn't have very many lines, but she gets to sing with Jennifer Hale and Jane Wayland from the Go-Go's. So we sound like the Go-Go's, and we're the Hex Girls on Scooby-Doo. That's my favorite because we literally went into a studio and cut an album as the Hex Girls. And my dream was always to be in a band, so that's how I get to live it out a little bit. So that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, that's so good.
I'm super jealous of your career. I don't know you at all. She keeps talking about these roles, and I'm like, oh, that sounds like
I know it's weird. I'm under the radar, but like seriously, I never met you before. I know. Anyway, that's it.
It's a fun panel.
Have you guys ever gone back and seen all the episodes that you guys done? I know Colleen, Clinkenbeard, I love One Piece, and I've seen all the sub of it, and I started out watching dub. and I just thought it.
I'm so glad, and I'm so glad you're keeping up with it. It's a long haul, and that's fandom to like really truly keep up with it. They're at episode 830 something.
Wow.
And we are at episode 500 and something, and I can't imagine keeping up with it that long unless you are involved with it, so thank you, yay. I tend to just go back and watch the ones that I direct. Is that weird? Like, if I'm acting in it, I'm invested in the character, but I don't always go back and watch the show. And then if I'm directing it, it's like, that's my baby. I'll watch it 3 times.
I mean, like, yeah, there are a few series that I'm in that are really special to me and that I'm able, and that I like rewatching. Like, Eld Live was the first time I got to work with Sunny Straight. Yeah, and it was so much fun. I have a lot of memories recording. You know, so many laughs were shared, and so there are some series that I just love looking back on and just recalling memories.
Yeah, I try to watch as much as I can of stuff that I have worked on. Especially, I was talking about the South Park stuff. I do the craziest stuff on that show. And I say stuff that would normally never come out of my mouth. Like literally and the way that they work on that show is Trey actually records every single voice of every episode, every character, no matter what the character is. And then when I go in at 10 p.m. usually, or 11, because they record at night, because it's like a big fraternity house. Wow. And there's like, I don't know, craziness, and they have they do the show in like a week. Yeah. So it's, and so, for instance, on the show, I played one episode, the first time that Barack Obama was elected, so 8 years, or however long ago that was. God, I wish we had those times back, but that's a little time. So the show airs on Wednesday. Tuesday night, I was playing Michelle Obama, and if you guys ever saw this episode, it was like a spoof on Ocean's 11, where it was all a big grift, and they were all in on it together. John McCain and Michelle Obama was really running the whole thing. But they wanted to get the speech exactly as Obama had done the speech, so we were watching the thing. Their writers frantically writing it word for word, and so I was there till like 1 a.m. getting it perfectly right. But the next day, I was like, I gotta see this episode. So stuff like that, that was they're crazy over there, but it's really fun. It's a fun show.
So cool.
Awesome. It is. Yeah, I watch stuff sometimes. I'll probably watch your stuff now. I got Scooby-Doo, South Park. Okay, I got that on my plane. I get that on the plane. But the same thing, like all of us are always, you're always working towards the next thing. So I don't tend to watch what I've done as much as I watch what other people are doing and kind of catch up on things and hear what style is being used in this cartoon or this show or whatever. And that's where I draw my inspiration from.
Yeah. So, for all of you, are there any characters that have just been so easy to do that you just feel like stepping in, it's like second skin, you got it right away, and alternatively, a character that it took so much work and every time you do it, it just is exhausting?
Yes.
Do you have one?
A character that I felt was easy to do, I guess.
Just like it felt, it was like you knew where they were going automatically. It was.
Character. Yeah. Eld Live was that for me. I voiced for a lot of young boys, and Chuta. Like I felt like that just whenever I stepped in the booth, boom, I got it. But as far as characters that it was harder to voice for, there's one I can't talk about yet. So yeah,
history. This sounds like something on screen.
And the game's Lemonade too, right?
Wolf Children was easy. Wolf Children, I played Hannah. I was heavily pregnant while I was recording that, and all she cared about was her kids. And so it was like, immediately, yeah, got it, I'm good. I totally understand everything coming out of her mouth. It didn't hurt that she was this very natural speaker. She sounded like me, maybe a little bit more optimistic me, less cynical, less jaded, but me. And so she was easy and fun, and I this is the one show that I really cried when she cried, and watching it over again, I cry all over again. So that one was easy. But Shin-Chan, has anybody seen Shin-Chan? I was on TV for a little bit. I played Maso in that, and I was playing Luffy at the same time, which is a completely different voice. And Maso sits in this strange place in my throat that I found during the auditions and ever after was chasing. So like every session I came in after that, the director would be like, it's not quite. And it's one of those shows where I was like, okay, play me the reference. Every line, play me the reference. I don't know why I can't find it.
Your stuff in a way too.
Yeah. And after a while, I found a way to fake it. And so I can do a Maso voice, and I can pull that out of a hat now, but I still don't think it sits in the same place. And the only reason I think that is because it doesn't hurt in the same way. It always hurt in that one spot. It's like, oh, I haven't found it yet. It doesn't hurt yet.
It's like muscle memory.
It is,
right?
yeah.
It's really interesting. Well, this doesn't have to do with animation. One of my hardest jobs I don't have anymore, and I was bummed because I missed the money, but I was happy at the same time when it ended, was this show called Killer Couples. Do you guys ever watch? It's like Snapped Killer Couples. Yeah. And it was a show about couples that either murder each other or murder people, and it's like they're real live news stories. And I would get the scripts were like, you read long scripts, but I can't handle long scripts where it's just me in the booth for like 4 hours. Oh my God, But it would be fine if it was something else, but it was all about murder, and so I would get the script the night before knowing it was real, and and I did it for a few years, so I got to the point, because it's so much I had to read it, but I got to the point where I would just like not ring it and just go to the session because I couldn't stand the topic of what I was talking about, and it was really hard for me to do that. I'm not even sensitive like that. Like I love death and murder and all that. I love it, but not when it's real. Not when it's real, I think. But as far as the easiest thing on Doc McStuffins, as Mom McStuffins, it's just me. It's just like, come on, Doc, let's go get some ice cream or whatever. So that's pretty much like 10-minute sessions. I go in and it's like, super easy.
I think the biggest challenge is also the fact that a lot of times we're in the booth and you say, oh, can you play this part? Or you're getting an audition last minute and they just like, can you do this? And you have to come up with something right away, and you don't really know that much about the character or what drives them or anything like that. And so there's so much that you're doing in your head. And then sometimes you're like, oh, I get this person, I can fabricate a whole life for them in 2 minutes. Other times it's hard to kind of figure it out, or so I don't know. I think I've been lucky in a sense that there's a lot of characters I've been able to figure out, but there is always one that definitely, if I haven't played a character for a while, I ask for a reference because if I hear it, I know who it is, but I can't always pull it out, and I'm always worried that I don't have it right.
Me too.
So I have to hear the reference when I go back in, for whatever. But it's a challenge to kind of make a complete person,
Okay, so we're running out of time.
We're almost done. Any other questions? Do we have more questions?
Do I have any more questions before?
We do lightning round.
So obviously we know that there is that limit with voice acting, that we just hear your voice, but y'all put so much into it. Is there any unique perspective that is just voice acting that y'all can tell us about since y'all are on the inside? Hey, I didn't expect this, or anything that was just unique to y'all's profession that we don't see.
I can tell you one thing. I have so many weirdo jobs. I work on cartoons. I work on audiobooks. I do language programs. I'm the American who teaches you languages on Mango Languages. Right now I have a project. I just do, if you want to speak French to a woman, you say, or if you want to say hello, you would say, to a man, you would say, in Paris, you can eat when you go out for breakfast. So like that's all. I just do those things, and sometimes I don't know what surrounds it. I'm guessing. Other times I have.
Can we play Mad Libs with that?
You can fill in whatever language you want. So I do English as a second language. I do. I was one of the prototypes for Watson.
Wow.
That thing, which we just did December 25th, 1965. December 26th, 1966. So I have a lot of control. But there's so much out there that people work on. There's so much to do. And as an actor, you have to be able to do everything because you would like to pay your rent.
It's nice to pay your rent.
Put gas in your car. So there's
food.
But my life as an actor is so many things that you'll never hear about. And that, I think, is probably, I'm an actor who does a lot of voice-related work, and you just never know what you're going to be called upon to do.
I love how you put that.
But it is that, and the thing about it is that I still commit to every job, even Mango languages especially. I think about you listening to it and learning a language from it. But all of that stuff, you still have to be present. Think of your audience. It's all acting, but all different ways.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And the same for me. I do so many awesome things. I'm the voice of Toyota. I do all these Toyota commercials in LA. You hear me? Toyota, let's go places. Like just all the time. And you would never know. One of my coolest things, if somehow I got into this niche of doing like a fake Siri thing a long time ago, and I kind of got into this niche. So this is pretty exciting. I worked on Two and a Half Men, is that what it's called? And so for a long time I was doing this, they had this gag where Charlie Sheen had this thing that he wears on his head and it would say his thoughts. But I was the voice of his thoughts. So I would say things like,
Great idea.
yeah, I would just say things like boobs or whatever he happened to be thinking about at the time. But what was interesting was having to be on set, and it actually was kind of scary because they treated me like a crew member in a really weird way. I was off to the side. There's a boom mic here, and I literally, without any rehearsals with Charlie Sheen at all, pretty much had to be ready to anticipate, like off of his look, when he was going to speak or not speak. So, like you were saying before, where you have to be ready as an actor, even though it's just a voice. It's the same, but they didn't know what to make of. Right. I'm not an on-camera actor, but I'm not, I'm over here with like the camera guy, and so it's just really interesting. You never know what you are going to be doing in this career.
Yeah.
You have the coolest career.
I'm a workhorse.
That's awesome. I like what both of them just said, and I'm jealous of both of those jobs. That sounds awesome. And yes, there's a lot of that. There's reading textbooks on every computer, and you have I don't know physics. So when I'm saying those words, I'm not understanding what I'm saying, and yet I'm saying them for you, and I have to say them very quickly because we're moving at a clip here. But another thing that's interesting about voice acting is sometimes commitment can mess up the sound of a thing. I don't know if you guys are even going to agree with that, but like. You can cry when a sad thing happens to the character on the video, and it will ruin the read. It will ruin the sound of it. It'll make it sound like there's a wall in front of your mouth. So it's not always about making that perfect magical acting moment happen for you like it is in theater. In theater, it's all about feel it and live in it and make it real for you, and so it can be real for the audience. And for voice acting, it's make it real for the audience. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what's going on with you as long as and that works out for us in a lot of ways because I am not a teenage boy made of rubber, and yet I can play one on TV. So it works out, but it's also a strange thing.
Yeah. I started out with stage, and that was my first love. And so, you don't have those elements when you're doing voiceover work. You don't have the lights, you don't have the costumes, There's nothing there. At Funimation, I'm in the booth, and then there's the director and the engineer, and that's all. There's no audience to feed off their energy from, So it is different, but I still love it, and I have a good time. So.
Yeah.
The audience comes later.
Right.
Yeah. Unless you're Charlie Sheen's brain, which is the coolest job I've ever heard.
Thank you guys so much. Are you guys back down at your tables after this?
No, I think I'm gone, you guys. Is there anybody that I'm going to miss at the table that wanted anything? Because I'll go back if you need to, but I think I've seen a lot of you.
Yeah, we'll be back downstairs till, I guess, 5.
Till 5.
You guys, thank you so much. It's great to be down. Thank you.